Hi, in this video I'd like to talk about the bench hook and how I use it in my own furniture making studio. I tend to use these considerably. I have two at the moment, and I've got a smaller one and a larger one, and I'll talk about the larger one a bit later. But the bench hook consists of a board with a fence and a cleat, and the cleat serves to register the bench hook against your workbench, and then you register the piece you're trimming against the fence. So I haven't talked about that yet, but the concept is to have a fence with an accurately cut 90-degree square shoulder, and you're able to trim small pieces of small furniture components using this. And what I like about the bench hooks is the fact that I can avoid firing up a bandsaw or a table saw to actually perform this cut on smaller pieces, which can be inherently dangerous. Smaller pieces, the actual kerf of the table saw blade is 1/8 of an inch wide in one case and fairly wide on a bandsaw blade too, so it defeats the purpose of an accurate cut. Performing the cut on a bench hook with a thin curved blade, as you can see here, and this is a razor saw, and the kerf is, if I'm not mistaken, is 20 thou with the set of the teeth. So I'll describe that later. But the cuts are very, very accurate, and I'll just give you a demonstration of what I'm referring to. So let's try to use as little pressure as possible. And there you go. So this is almost this would almost be the width of the kerf on a table saw, a standard table saw blade. So this gives you an idea of how small a cut you can make, how thin a cut. So it's ideal for small furniture components. I would normally cut the piece on the bench hook and then trim it to size within a few thousandths of an inch on a shooting board if necessary. So it's ideal for smaller components like this, or even pieces of veneer if necessary. A little bit more about the bench hook. As I've explained, this is the fence, this is the shoulder. So the shoulder is 90 degrees square to the length of the fence. So the length, what I normally register a board or a piece of or a furniture component against the fence, and just have the piece, the component or the end I'm trying to cut extend outwards, and at 90 degrees. So I've talked about the actual base itself is in this case is about 1 inch thick, and it's Baltic birch ply, but you can make it as thin as perhaps 3/4 of an inch. I would extend it to 1 inch, and then the cleat, the size of the cleat depends very much on how much you need hanging over the edge of your workbench to keep it from going forward as you're pressing your furniture component against the fence. So you can either set these up for 90-degree cuts. Now this is a fairly extremely basic bench hook it only allows you to do 90-degree cuts at this end, and the reason why the fence itself is shorter than the actual baseboard is to allow the saw blade to fit into this groove so it doesn't damage your workbench. Like had the fence been as long as the base, you would be more than likely slicing into your own workbench. So this is something you want to avoid. So you try to make this as long as possible and just keep enough space here for some average cuts. So you can also use a bench hook as a planing stop, and I'll give a demonstration. If you have a small piece of wood you need to trim, and if you don't feel like setting up a tail vise or any other means of holding the component, you can use it as a small planing stop, like so, if you're careful enough. So I'll just back that setting off. For smaller components, it's ideal. The only caveat is the fact that the height of the fence itself, of Of course, it's a variable height. I've selected this to be about an inch tall, but the board you're planing would have to be taller than the 1 inch. So, I mean, with an allowance to keep it from slicing into the fence. So what you can do is have a lower fence, depending on the average size of the furniture components you're trimming on the bench hook. So it's not necessary to glue the fence, because if you don't glue the fence, you can adjust it later for if you happen to damage the edge or something. If it's not square 90 degrees any longer, you can offset it, you can reposition it if the holes are elongated. Or you can just create two new counterbore holes and just move it across. Now, I've set this bench hook up as for left-handed operation because I'm left-handed, but you can just as easily set it up for right-handed operation by just offsetting the fence towards the left edge. And so this is also another option. You could just offset this. Once this wears down, you can offset this and you have a clean shoulder on the right-hand side, or reverse the fence if necessary. What I've done is I've made the holes equidistant from the end, so I can actually flip the fence around if necessary.